What's going on, guys? It's been a while, but I'm officially back. Sleeky is back, and after seeing some of these other reviews, it's not official rating without the Sleeky rating. Let's get right into it. First of all, let me just say, I know I've been taking a little bit of a hiatus. Lots been going on in my life. I had a kid. Best thing that's ever happened to me, and if you know, you know. But today, I want to talk about Scream 7. That's right, Scream 7. Now, it was quite a disappointment, to be honest. Like, I know I sometimes glaze Scream, and I say it's the best slasher. I truly think Scream 7 dropped the ball on this. Okay, and I'm going to explain why. But first, before obviously I get into this, spoiler alerts ahead, just so you were in case you haven't seen it. Before I decided to roast Scream 7, let's get into some of the pros. I do think the intro, especially like at the Airbnb scene we see, I thought was pretty solid. Like, you have a decent connection to the people who rent the Airbnb, aka Stu Macher's house. Okay, I can get behind that. Because obviously Scream 7 starts off at Stu's house. So by starting out a house, it gives it that Scream vibe, right? One of the cool things within that first portion I really did like, I like how you'll see like an animatronic, like robot scream, Ghostface come down with a knife. Honestly, that made me jump. I tend to jump at horror movies, but that's why I like them so much. I wouldn't call this a horror, but it had a jump scare in there. But overall, though, the intro and even past that, I want to say probably for the first like 30 to 20 minutes, somewhere around there, I actually kind of enjoyed. Another pro I really did like about Scream 7 was the callbacks. I know some big creators, some big reviewers such as Moist Critical, and some of them, though I love his take and some other takes on the film itself, I kind of disagree on their perception of this. They weren't a huge fans of the callbacks, where I kind of was, only because out of all the things wrong with this film, at least they kind of got something cool and something partially right. Like how Scream 7 shows about her boyfriend coming through the window like Billy Loomis did in Scream 1, or the fact that she ends up running around town and Ghostface is chasing her, or the theater scene Scream 2, the bulletproof vest that the bad guys, Ghostface, villains, whatever you want to call them, they're wearing bulletproof vests, part of Scream 3. But regardless, like, do I think it's like a pro that makes this movie great? Absolutely not. Do I like some of the callbacks? Absolutely. Some people say it's fatigue. Some people say that it's overused because other films do it. I kind of like it because it pays homage to the whole franchise within itself. Granted, again, this film is not good by any stretch of the measure. I am not saying it's a good film, but that's one of the pros I will argue that I liked about it, whereas other ones did not like it. Another one that's kind of iffy on my mind was the whole gruesome killing scene. I kid you not, I was in the theater and some people gasped at the whole, like, you know, I even forget the kids, the weirdo or the son of one of the ghost faces that like had his head slide on the beer dispenser or whatever you want to call it. That to me was a little much. Like, Ghostface is somewhat about gruesome, but not like that. Like, yes, they killed Sydney's mom very gruesomely, or, you know, you see Sydney's friend in Scream 1 get put up in the garage and go up, but like that wasn't really gruesome. Like, there was some times like, okay, the gruesome's kind of cool. Like the gas station scene in Scream 6, that was pretty crazy. I kind of like that. Do I think it should be the whole film? Absolutely not. Like, okay, hats off to you, one time, done, whatever. But like this, I feel like a lot of them were extra gruesome for some reason. Like, I don't know if they partnered up with Saw and they're like, hey, how can we make this more gruesome? That's not what Ghostface is about, in my opinion. So I put it iffy because there was some really cool like attack scenes like you wouldn't expect. Like, I never saw Ghostface come from the ceiling before in Sydney's house. That was kind of different, but like maybe they learned some of the tactics, how they could do it better. That's kind of a stretch. That's just me speculating 100%, but there was a couple things I liked, but a lot of that I didn't like I mentioned about the whole bar fight scene. That was kind of weird. The kind of only last pro, but really it's more of a con. The only pro part was the fact that was mentioned because we kind of feel like we kind of already had that spoiled, was Stu being in this, kind of. So they do this whole like AI thing where Stu is like, oh, I'm here, but I'm not here. But then we find out it's AI because all the other killers like Roman, Billy's mom, like all these people are in the videos at the end and they keep switching left and right. They had me, then they lost me. Because the whole AI thing I thought was kind of stupid. Some people like the AI thing. I just think everyone's using AI now. You don't even know on TikTok whether or not it's AI or if it's real. It's kind of fatigued at this point in my mind. It was kind of lacking. Like, I don't really like it. You know, the only reason why I have some of it as a pro is because it was cool seeing Stu for the first time and he had that Stu comedic side to it. Not saying Scream should be a comedy film. It was in Stu fashion. Like how he does his laughing thing or his my mom's gonna be so mad at me thing in the first Scream. You kind of get that same comedy with him in this. Like they didn't go overboard with it, but it was using Stu's personality. I like that. That's the only thing. And it gave you somewhat hope in the beginning that maybe he is the killer. Let's get into the cons. Going back to the Stu thing. That's why I have it as kind of like in the middle between a pro and con, because it was kind of cool seeing him. And I kind of did like at the end seeing Roman talk and Billy Loomis's mom talk. It showed their age. It showed like they were in these movies ages ago. So it shows them old. But if it was AI, they could have made them younger. Like, you know what I mean? Like it didn't make any sense in that aspect. But it was kind of cool showing them at the end and talking and basically roasting Sidney the whole time. Whatever. That was kind of cool because I like seeing those previous ghost faces. Roman probably being one of my favorites. Other than that though, But going back to it as a con, I just think the whole FaceTime thing was dumb because Sidney in her coffee shop gets a call from Stu on her PC, but it looks like FaceTime format. I'm just going to leave it at that. Obviously, we know FaceTime's Apple, but for some reason she's using like basically an HP or Dell at work, and somehow it looks like FaceTime type format pulls up. That doesn't make any sense. And then the rest of them on her phone, on her iPhone, shows like basically looks like a FaceTime 4K video recording. That doesn't make any sense to me either, because it'll show like little Sidney, like a little box for her or whatever the scenario is. No, it's just his face. Again, doesn't make any sense to me. It looks like just like a FaceTime recording and they just put on the phone. Very like half-assed it. Not a fan of that. The second con, I also didn't like, well, what was the point of burning Stu's house? Like, okay, were you trying to fool us in the beginning thinking it was Stu, like he was burning down his past? Maybe. But then we find out at the ending it's not him, so what was the point of doing all that? Was it try to throw off the scent? I don't know. And then the other part to that, after the bar scene, Sidney's daughter, already forget her name, is trying to escape, and she goes in the car. Her boyfriend, also forget his name already, goes in the car. She pulls up the laptop, and as I mentioned previously, because it was all AI, her boyfriend, who's this computer whiz, but also Abercrombie Fitch looking dude, he's going to Carnegie Mellon. Good for him, but not for too long because he gets cooked. Pulls up his MacBook, and oh, look, it's him like doing the same exact verbiage that Stu does. And it shows him mimicking, which leads us to believe, and it kind of partially fooled me to be honest, but it showed as, hey, I'm Ghostface, I'm the bad guy. And she freaks out, bashes him in the head with the laptop, he gets knocked out, she runs. Which then at the end we find out it's not him, because quite literally 2 minutes probably after that scene broke, gets cooked in the middle of town. What was the point of showing us the laptop? Was it to fool us and fool her thinking it was him? Kind of like a Stu and Randy situation in the beginning of Scream, where they're both calling to her and she just says F you both and slam the door. I don't know, but that's essentially what happened there, which kind of leads me into my next con. Where were the cops? They go into lockdown like Scream 1 did, or in like some other Screams like Scream 2, etc. did. But quite literally, it made sense in Scream 1 about the only cop being there was Dewey until all the aftermath, because they live in the middle of BFE, and Stu's house, which is apparent in Scream 7, is in the middle of nowhere land. In Scream 7, in the middle of town, the Ghostface goes through a window on an establishment, to which the alarm goes off. No cops apparently come. She then does this whole thing in her mom's store, shooting guns off and everything. And then on top of that, Ghostface is chasing her around in the middle of the street. She's standing in the middle of an intersection yelling, help, help, help. And Ghostface chases her around like a parent trying to chase a kid. I don't understand, because I understand, like, again, in Scream 1, because they're in the middle of the boonies, like maybe you just don't hear it or whatever, or it's a delay for the cops to get there. Sure. But you're in the middle of town. The police station can't be that far away. Like, this is a small ass town. Bro and her spent about 30 minutes. Maybe of the film, it was actually 10 minutes, but it doesn't matter. It looked like they spent all eternity in the middle of this town doing this whole standoff thing, breaking things, alarms going off, yelling, screaming. Now there's 2 ghost faces in town. I just don't understand all that. Which then also leads, speaking of like roasting Scream and Ghostface in this, was the fact that, one, there was no phone play. Like the first one kind of had it. And I was talking to some friends about this, like, because where they say on the Airbnb, they answer the phone, it's like an automated thing asking them movie questions, like horror, typical Scream type vibes, like, what's your favorite scary movie? And then Ghostface actually calls the chick's cell phone. Okay, that is the only really time, besides like Stu and all that nonsense, we see Ghostface call. I just wish they did more phone play. Questions that got asked in the animated thing sound very automated, very fake, but even though they were real horror type questions. But it would have been cool to see Ghostface actually do the thing that they do best. You know what I mean? The ending was the worst part about this, and I was kind of building up to it because of all the cons, if you take any con from this, it was the ending. And I'm not the only one saying it. Any single reviewer watching it, Sleeky being the official one, of course, anyone watching it, complete garbage. Like, I thought Scream 6 ending was bad. This is right there with it. Like, because what ultimately happens is the two Ghostface bad guys, bad girls in this scenario as well, is Sidney's neighbor and the psych ward employee dude. Both of them combined, we see a total of 2 minutes within this film. That's not the whole part of Ghostface. At least in Scream 6, we see the cop, whatever his name is, and we see the other people throughout the whole film. Okay, that's at least better. This we literally see 2 minutes. The whole point of Ghostface is supposed to have a connection. And in this movie, they articulate connection as, oh, I was a victim of domestic violence, to which then I killed my husband after reading your book, and then you kind of went MIA, and then I kind of went Looney Tunes, went in the Looney Tube bin, and then I met him, and this, that, and the third. I didn't like it at all. And then the ending part where Sidney and her daughter shoot her to death, they say about 5,000 times throughout this film, shoot him in the head, shoot him in the head, shoot him in the head. And Sidney's daughter keeps forgetting to, and somehow she escapes, ends up 10 feet away. They don't see her, to which then she starts charging at them, and Sidney and her daughter shoot her neighbor, I already forget her name too, shoot her to oblivion in the face. Again, overdoing the killing. Kind of weird and not fit the Scream vibe at all. I don't know. Honestly, guys, seeing this where this stands in my ranking system, I'm only going to put Scream 7 slightly above Scream 6. Only because we at least still have, I'm not going to say Sidney and Gail and all that stuff, but at least it was kind of built and surrounded by them, and at least kind of the beginning part was solid. Like, the only part I liked about Scream 6 in the beginning, the convenience store scene. That's it. The whole guy was like, oh, I'm gonna kill this person as practice, and the Ghostface kills him. That was silly in my book. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that. A little too much for me again. But overall, though, this is not good. This is simply not good. Honestly, if I could, even though it's a ranking system I said it's above, I would put them parallel. Quite honestly. But overall, though, this movie was not great at all. Quite honestly, I thought the previews for the upcoming movies were better than the actual movie. Isn't that kind of crazy? We like the previews more than the actual movie. If I had to say, watch this in theaters, watch this at home, just watch it at home. It's not worth your money in 2026. It's really not. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I'll see ya.